Thank you.
In your hands.
Great. Let me know when you're ready. Are you recording already?
Yes,
Yes.
she's recording.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So good morning, everybody. How are you
Good
all
morning.
doing?
I'm doing fine.
Doing fine. Okay. So our theme today is planting a fall garden. So let's have our theme or our question of the day be, what is your favorite thing to eat in the fall? I know it's kind of hard to think of right now because it's still so hot, but what's your favorite thing to eat in the fall? Who wants to go first?
Does it have to be a fruit or vegetable or just anything?
It can be anything for this one.
What grows in the fall?
What grows in the fall? Well, we're going to talk about that in a second, but just for our question, just you don't have to think about what grows in the fall, just what do you like to eat in the fall? So I can start. I like to eat chili in the fall. I think chili is a really good soup, and so that's my favorite fall soup.
I guess I can say chili. Yeah.
Pumpkin pie.
And then what'd you say?
Pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie. That's a good one.
Turkey.
Turkey. You're thinking of Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are all delicious things to eat in the fall. So what we're going to talk about today, I brought my little list with me. We're going to talk about the difference between warm and cool season crops, and then we're going to plant some in our garden, and we're also going to go through all the stuff that's in here right now and figure out if it's a warm or a cool season. So first question, does anybody know what it means for a plant to be a warm season crop or a cool season? Does anybody know the difference between those? No? Okay. So let's start with our first and last frost of the year. So first frost is like the first time of the year that it starts to get cool outside and you wake up in the morning and there's frost on the leaves. So who has a guess for what average day of the year is the first frost in Nebraska?
Winter
Winter?
or late fall.
Winter or late fall? Do you have like a month guess?
November.
What'd you say?
November.
November? That's a good guess. Iker, do you have a guess?
Winter. I mean December.
December? So December, November? It's actually sometime in October. So we usually like to say that our first frost of the year is like the second week of October. And we like to say that because there are some plants in the garden that can't tolerate frost at all. So on average, we like to make sure that we are able to grow the whole plant and get all the fruit off of it before the second week of October, just in case it'll frost. So it is different from year to year. Sometimes it might be November, but we usually like to say October. But good guesses. Then the other thing that's important to know about cool and warm season crops is the last frost of the year. So that's the exact opposite of the first frost. That would be like the last time you wake up in the morning and there's frost on the leaves. So do you have a guess for what month that might be?
March.
March?
Yeah, March.
Do you have another guess? We got March. Do you have another guess for what month that might be?
April.
April? And then Brooke, what about you?
I was gonna say April too.
April or
What
March?
about you?
April.
What about you, Madeline? Okay, Madeline's on here also. Maddie.
Oh, I see. We have some new students.
Yeah, Maddie, what about you? Can you hear us, Maddie? Okay.
Hold on.
Who's the ABN? Who's that? ABN, can you turn your camera on or can you hear us? ABN, can you turn your camera on? Okay.
Oh, Adrian.
Adrian,
Okay.
hi, Adrian. Did you hear the question, Adrian?
I can say it one more time. So do you have a guess for what the last month is that we have frost? So like the last morning that you wake up and there's frost on the leaves, what do you think the last month is that happens?
Oh, I think my answer is a month.
You said April or March? And
March.
then Adrian, what do you say?
August.
August? Well, it's usually about in May. So we like to say that it's the second week of May is when we have our last frost. And that's important for the same reason as the first frost, because you can't plant certain plants before the end of the frost or the whole plant will die. So we are gonna walk around our garden and figure out which ones of these we can plant before the last frost and which ones we can plant after, which is what month again? Who wants to remind us? When's the last frost?
May.
May. Good job. Okay, so we're gonna start over here with our, and I'm gonna have you identify them too. So what is this plant right here? Can you see the vegetable on it?
Are those peppers? What are they?
So we got a vegetable on it right here. What'd you say? Yeah, pepper plant. Good job. So we've got a pepper right here, and do we think that that is a warm season, which would be planted after the frost, or a cool season that's planted before?
Warm.
Go ahead. What's that, Brooke?
Warm.
Yeah, you are correct. So peppers cannot survive with any frost, so they have to be planted after that last frost. So
plants
even if
get
some,
moldy.
what'd you say?
Can plants get moldy?
The plant get moldy?
Yeah.
They could if you overwater them. They have a thing that happens called root rot, which is when their roots get overwatered and they can get moldy and die. But usually if your plants are outside in the hot summer, that won't happen because the water evaporates so quickly. So it doesn't usually happen outside. But in potted plants, it happens a lot. Okay, so pepper plants are warm season. We're moving on to this one. So what is this plant?
Cabbage.
Yeah, it's cabbage. Good job. So cabbage, do you remember if I planted that before or after the frost?
Before.
So is it warm or cool? I did plant it before. So does that make it warm or cool?
Warm.
Cool. Yep. So if you said cool, it makes it cool. Because if it was a warm season plant, it wouldn't be able to survive before the last frost. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So moving on, we've got, who remembers what this is? It's been in your weekly vegetable packages, if you remember. All these leaves. I can't see comments.
Oh, you
So
can't see.
I can't see comments, so you're gonna just have to say out loud
Oh, okay.
if
Well,
you
I
have a
can read
guess.
them if they comment.
Okay, that helps too.
Yeah.
So what are people saying?
What was in you guys' bags the last? What was second to the last time? Wasn't it?
What'd you
What
say?
was in y'all guys' bags? What was in y'all bags? What type of?
Something that starts with a K. Oh, and look at these little water droplets. So pretty. All
Get
these.
a bale of
Kale.
Kale, good job. Yes. And if you remember from a couple weeks ago, this is called dinosaur kale. Does anybody remember why it's called that? I'll zoom in for a hint. What do the leaves look like? Can you see the leaves in my video?
Yeah, we said.
Okay. So they're called dinosaur kale because the leaves kind of look like scaly dinosaurs. So if you look at our leaves, they look all
Yeah.
bumpy and rough like dinosaurs. They taste like regular kale, but I just think that this kale is more fun and special. So that's why it's here.
How does dragon fruit like grow?
What'd you say?
How long does it take dragon fruit to grow?
How long it take what?
Dragon fruit.
Can you type it in? Because I can't understand. Let me type it in.
Okay. And while you're typing that in, can we guess if this is warm or cool? So can kale tolerate the cold at all? So we got a warm. Who else has a guess?
Yeah.
Warm, warm. Does anybody say cool?
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool, you're right. So kale actually tastes better when you harvest it in the cool weather. So we are gonna let these grow all the way into the school year, and then we'll see if there's a difference in how they taste. Hopefully you'll still be able to get packages into the school year. We'll figure it out, but we'll see what the difference in taste is during the school year, because they taste sweeter when you harvest them in cool weather. How long does it take to grow dragon fruit? So dragon
Okay.
fruit,
Yeah.
is a tropical fruit, and I honestly don't know very much about tropical fruits. So I'm not really sure. I'm sorry. But those are really good, but we can't actually grow those in Nebraska, so I don't know very much about them. Sorry. Okay, so we're gonna go on to these ones. There's a couple of wasps hanging out in here, but it's okay. We're all gonna hang out together. Does anybody remember what these ones are? These big leafy greens that were in your vegetable packages?
Green.
What type? What type of
Green.
greens? What kind?
Green beans.
Not green beans.
Green beans? No, not green beans. They are greens though.
What
They're
kind?
collard greens. Yeah, so these are collard greens. And I'm so glad that I'm here in the morning because all of them have this beautiful, like lacy dew all over them. It looks so pretty right now. But anyway, these are collard greens, and are they warm or cool season? So can they tolerate frost or no?
Yeah.
We have a warm. We have
Adrian
someone
says
that says
warm.
they can. So if they can tolerate frost, does that make them warm or cool?
Warm.
No, it makes them cool.
I can tolerate
If
frost.
they can tolerate the frost, that means that they're a cool season plant. If they couldn't tolerate it, that means they need to grow in a warm season, so that would make them a warm season plant. So collards are cool season, and just like kale, they taste better when you harvest them in cool weather. So they taste sweeter in the winter when you harvest them, or like the late fall, I guess. And they taste like a little more bitter if you harvest them in the summer. So they taste better when you harvest them in cool weather. Okay, let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 more plants to get through, so we're gonna get through them. All right, so these ones right here, who knows what this one is? Let me try to find a vegetable on here. Oh, here's a little teeny one, still growing. So what is this plant right here?
Oh.
Cucumber.
It is a cucumber, good job. So cucumbers, can those tolerate frost or no? Are they warm or cool season? Here it is growing up the fence. So we have a warm. We have another guess? We'll do one more guess, then we'll go on. You say warm too?
Warm.
You are correct. So cucumbers cannot tolerate frost at all, and they're actually ready to harvest about right now, like this time of year. So they are definitely a warm season vegetable. Okay, so we're going on to this one, which I planted a little bit late, so it's kind of small, and there's no fruits on it yet, but it is a fruit, and that's your hint. And we grew it last year. So who remembers what fruit we grew on a vine last year? And the leaves look like this. And it's a delicious type of melon. What kind of melon did we grow last year?
Watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon. So this is our watermelon plants, and our watermelon's warm or cool season.
Cool. Wait, warm. Warm.
We have a cool, we have a warm. What do you think it is?
Warm.
Warm, you are correct. So watermelons we harvest in the summer, and they cannot tolerate frost at all, or the watermelons will get really mushy. So this one I was showing people at the beginning of the video is really tragic, but we can talk about it anyway. So this was going to be a winter squash, like an acorn squash, but I think it got infested with bugs because it was doing so well, and now all the different vines are dying. And if you look at the base of it, you can tell that it's like hollow, and there's some little eggs on it and stuff. So I think that this plant is going to have to be taken out, unfortunately, and we'll have to plant something else here. So that's just how the garden goes. But winter squash is kind of a trick. It's actually a warm season. Winter squash is called winter squash because it stores really well in the winter, but the plant itself has to grow in the summer. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so going on, we have our tomato right here. We've got our little flowers that are all going to have tomatoes on it. So is tomato a warm or a cool season?
Warm.
Warm. Yes, you are correct. It is a warm season. So tomatoes have to be planted outside after what month? Or during what month? Just as review. May, good job. So they have to be planted after the middle of May to make sure that there's no frost or else they'll die. Okay, going on, these ones are underground plants. So both of these beds, does anybody remember what these ones are? They grow underground, and it's what you make French fries out of.
Potatoes.
Potatoes, good job. So are potatoes warm or cool?
Cool.
We have a cool. We have another guess. We have a
Warm.
warm. Let's get one more to break the tie.
Warm. Warm.
Warm. So yes, potatoes, sorry.
Potato.
Potatoes are kind of confusing because they do need to grow in the warm season and can't tolerate frost really well, but you harvest them in the cool season. So you harvest them in like October or November. So they're kind of confusing, but they're technically considered a warm season plant. So yes. And then we have one more over here. We have our beautiful pollinator garden, by the way, with all these lovely flowers growing, just for you to see. And then right here, we have one more vegetable. So let's see if we have one growing.
Okay, you mute. You can't hear.
Whoops. Okay,
Okay,
so
thank
did
you.
everybody see the video of the plant that I showed you? Of the vegetable? So what is that one? It's what we made zoodles out of last year.
What are those?
What'd you say?
What are those? Noodles?
Eggplant.
Egg.
No, not eggplant. Something that starts with a Z.
Zucchini.
Zucchini. There we go. So I'll show it to you one more time. So down here, this giant plant right here is a zucchini. And I'm gonna get the bugs off of it. I don't know if you heard me talking about all the bugs on it, but I'm scared that they're gonna kill that one too. I don't want them to. So that is a zucchini, and is that one a warm or a cool season plant?
Warm.
Warm.
It's a warm season, good job. Zucchini doesn't tolerate frost. We harvest it in the summer, so it is a warm season plant. Okay, so today's theme is planting a fall garden. So the kind of things that would be in a fall garden would be warm season or cool season. What do we think?
Say it again.
What'd you say?
Say it again.
So we are planting a fall garden today. So we're planting a garden today in the middle of July, and it's going to be harvested in the fall. So would that be considered warm season or cool season plants?
Cool.
You're right. Yep, it is cool season plants. Good job. And the reason for that is because warm versus cool is based off of when they're harvested for the most part. And so all the plants that we're going to plant today will be ready in about 90 to 100 days, which will be in the fall, which will be cool season. So even though we plant in the middle of July, which is definitely really hot, they're cool season plants. So I made this cute little book with a different class that I had. It's my seed book right here. And so in this book are 5 different types of cool season plants, and I'm gonna let you pick what we replace this squash plant with in this space right here. So we're gonna plant some more stuff in this bed. So we have a salad mix. We have beets, which are really good in a lot of different things. We have carrots. We have broccoli, and we have turnips. So I am gonna let everybody vote right now on 2 different things that you would like to grow from this book. And you can put those in the comments. And let me see, I'm sure I can get to them somehow.
You got to pick one or
Oh,
just,
here we go.
because
So
this one got carrots and beets.
Yeah, I was gonna say pick 2 of them.
Okay.
Pick 2 of them because we have enough space that we can plant 2 different plants in this bed. Because we have all this space right here. Because this plant is dying and we're gonna take it out. And if you remember from the school year, we talked about how in order to prevent pests from invading your next plant, you want it to be from a different plant family. So luckily, all 5 of these cool season plants are a different plant family than this squash, which means that whatever we plant here, the bugs that are invading this plant are not going to like the plants we plant. So that's a good side note. Okay, so we've got carrots and beets. And just to remind, here, let me put in the comments what we have. Salad mix, carrots, beets, broccoli, and I can't even remember the last one, turnips.
Did you
Okay,
say
so
radish?
those are your 5 options. So far we've got carrots and beets. Does anybody want to pick anything else? I'll give you 1 more minute.
What
And
are we
actually,
doing?
so I put 5 different seeds that we can plant in the comments. So you're picking 2 of them. So pick the 2 that you want to plant the most. And I'm going to get some tools while I wait for comments. We moved our shed over here, so it's very convenient now. Here's the garden, here's the shed. It's great. It's right next door now. All right, carrots and beets are still winning. Does anybody else want to plant any of those other things besides carrots and beets? We could potentially do 3. We can do the top 3 if you want to.
Broccoli.
Carrots and broccoli. All right, cool. So we'll do carrots, beets, and broccoli. That sounds good.
Carrots and broccoli again.
Carrots, beets, and broccoli. Carrots and broccoli, carrots and broccoli.
Are you froze? I think it's froze. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
hers froze. Hers froze has been froze for a while.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
frozen?
there it is. That's better now.
Okay. I think that when I'm checking the comments, maybe I freeze.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to make sure. So carrots and broccoli and beets, is that our final choices? Okay, that sounds good to me. So we're just going to go over a little brief overview of how we read a seed packet, because that is very important when you plant your fall garden. Luckily, all 3 of the plants that you just picked have almost the exact same shape of seed. And so they're all planted about the same depth, because seeds come in all different sizes. So what do you think that means about the depth that you're going to have to plant them?
The bigger,
Who has
the
a guess?
deeper.
Yep, the bigger the seed, the deeper it has to be planted. Exactly. So let's see. Here's my beets, and they look like this. They're like these little bumpy looking, crunchy looking seeds. And let's see. Okay, right here it says maturity 65 days. What do you think that means on a seed packet? Maturity is in 65 days. It has to do with when you harvest it. So, what do you think it means?
That one of the students answer. I'm not gonna answer. Thank you, Marissa, for volunteering.
So maturity is in 65 days and it has to do with harvesting. So what do we think that means?
When they're ready to harvest?
Yeah, exactly. Good job. So 65 days is like a little more than 2 months from now. So we'll say we're going to harvest it like the first day of fall. So September 21st is about when they're going to be ready. And then if we turn to, let's see, I think broccoli has a longer harvest day. Oh, it's actually about the same. Well, I've seen some kind of broccolis that are like 100 days, but these ones, who wants to read this one? Can you read that? I don't know if you can. Where it says maturity.
That's small.
So 65 to 70 days. So these ones will be ready like first day of fall or the week after. And then the other thing that is important to know is right here, seed depth. So can you all read where it says seed depth? So who would like to read out loud where it says seed depth right here?
It's kind of blurry. I don't know if they can. I can't read it, but I don't know if they can.
Oh,
It's kind
okay.
of blurry. Yeah.
Okay, so it says 1/8 inch. So we've talked about this in program before. So one quotation is a foot or an inch. Who remembers? You might have learned this in science class too.
Inches.
Nope, it's the other one. So one quote is a foot, 2 quotes is an inch. So if I could show you the seed packet not blurry, you would see that it says 1/8, so 1/8 inch, like this, 2 quotes. So that means that you're gonna plant it about like, I don't know, this, I can't even show you on my finger because 1/8 of an inch is so small. So I'll just show you in the soil. So let's say we're gonna plant our broccoli right here. So I would have to pull out these weeds, and if you remember from a couple weeks ago, we did some weed identification, and a weed is just something that you don't want in that area, and so I don't want any of this stuff in this area. So we're gonna say right here is where our broccoli is gonna be. And 1/8 would be like that far, like barely anything at all. So I don't know if I can show you how to plant it right now, but have you all planted a seed before?
No.
No? Okay, I'll plant one so that we can all see how it's done. And I'm gonna put my thing right here. Let me see. Can you see me? Or is this leaf in the way?
We can see.
Okay, so right here is where we're gonna put our broccoli. So I'm opening up my seed book that I made to the broccoli. And the broccoli seeds are really small. So give me 1 second to get some out. Okay. So the broccoli seeds, I don't know if you can see them, but they look like that. So it's this little tiny thing right there in my hand. That is what we're gonna plant right here. Oops. Did you all see that? Hopefully. Oh no, am I lost? Am I still here?
No, you're still there.
Okay, so one other thing that's important to know about planting things is germination rate. So has anyone ever heard of the word germination before? Okay, so germination means the amount of seeds that are actually going to sprout. So when a seed germinates, that's when the little leaves pop out of the seed and you know the plant is going to grow. But not every seed is going to sprout. So germination rate is usually not always 100%, which means not 100% of your plants are going to sprout. So it's a good idea to plant just lost both of them. Oops, here's some small. It's a good idea to plant multiple seeds in one hole so that you are sure to get a plant right there. I'm gonna get a couple more seeds because I just dropped them in here. Okay, so I'm gonna put 2 seeds in this hole, and it's only a little tiny bit down. So then all I have to do is kind of brush some dirt over top of it and pat it down and then water it in. So I didn't even need this tool because it's only down like 1/4 of my fingernail. And then it would be the same process with every other seed. Let me just seal this really quick so that the seeds don't escape. So let's see, that one was 1/8 of a seed depth, but carrots, for example, are 1/4 inch of a seed depth. So they're twice as deep as broccoli. And then the other thing that's important to know, the other thing that's important to know is how big the plant is going to get. So broccoli gets to be like 1 foot to 2 feet wide, which means that you don't want to plant another broccoli plant for another foot. Because if you plant them too close together, they won't grow into a whole plant. Carrots, on the other hand, only need to be about 1 inch apart. So you can plant a whole row of carrots, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and they only have to be like 1 inch or 2 inches apart. And the way that you know that is on the back of your seed packet. It says seed spacing. So I don't know if you can read that, but it says seed spacing 1 inch, which means every seed only has to be 1 inch apart. And then row spacing is 6 inches. And that means, so here we have 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and that's our row. And then the next row has to be 6 inches apart. So you would put your next carrots right here, 1 inch apart. Does that make sense? It's like a grid, 1 inch by 6 inches. Okay, so that was a lot of information, but I hope that you all remember something. And let's see, it's 10:35? Okay, perfect. So let's just do some reflections. Let's say one cool season veggie that we remember from the day. So who remembers one of the cool season veggies in our garden? Or one that we're about to plant right now?
Pumpkin. Hey.
Carrots, good job. What about a warm season veggie that's in the garden?
Potato.
Potatoes, good job. And then let's just say one other thing that we learned besides identifying warm and cool season.
A potato. Wait, no.
So what's one thing you learned today? Let's see, we talked about first and last frost. So who remembers when the first frost is? What month is that in?
October.
October, good job. And then what about last frost?
May.
May, good job. So our growing season with no frost is from May to October, which is 5 months long. So we have like a middle-sized growing season, which is why we can't grow things like dragon fruit because they need a longer growing season. So let's see. What else did we talk about today? We talked about warm and cool, first and last frost, and how to plant a seed. So who remembers what seed depth is when it says that on your seed packet?
How far down you plant the seed?
Yep, how far down you plant the seed. And then one final question, who remembers the difference between seed spacing and row spacing? So it was like the last thing I talked about.
No.
So what is seed spacing? It's in the name. Seed spacing. What would that be?
Spacing.
What'd you say?
Spacing.
The spacing between the
Wendy, do you know
Seed.
what the spacing is?
The seeds, there we go. So seed spacing is the spacing between the seeds. So for carrots, it's 1 inch. And then row spacing is what? So we've got our carrots in a nice little row, 1 inch apart. And then what is row spacing?
Wendy can tell us. Can you tell us, Madeline? Wow.
Row spacing. So that one's in the name too. Row spacing is the space between the what?
Rows.
Rows. There you go. So seed spacing is what again?
Spacing in the seed.
Yep, space between the seeds. And then row spacing is,
Space between the rows.
there you go. Okay. So good job today. This may or may not be the final lesson. I don't know yet, but if not, I will see you during the school year. And you all did a great job this summer. So I'll see you virtually or in person. We'll figure it out as life goes on. So bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.